Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel and to the first video of 2025. Today we are tackling a project that's been sitting in the backlog for a while, building a CRM system in Tana. In this video we will cover everything from setting up super tags and fields to building a CRM section with various views. We'll also add a project section for tracking client projects and a finances section for managing forecasts and budget. There's a lot to cover, so let's dive in. Let's kick things off with the super tags, the foundation of our CRM. First, the account super tag that represents the client organization. The person super tag represents the main contact for each account. The industry super tag to categorize the economic sector of the client. The location super tag that captures the client's geographic location. And the role super tag that categorizes the role of individuals within client companies. Additionally, we have super tags for meetings, deals, projects, and tasks, which will help us manage everything from client interactions to project deliverables. Here's a quick tip. I like to add an icon to each super tag for clarity. To do this, place the cursor on the super tag, open the command line with Command K, search for Debug Node, and scroll to the icon field. Finally, drag and drop your chosen icon. I use the Nucleo Icons pack, but if you are looking for free options, Lucid Icons is a great alternative. Now, let's set up the fields for each super tag. If you're new to super tags, I've got a detailed video introducing them. You'll find a link in the description. Let's begin with the account super tag. The first field to add is Stage, an options field that allows you to categorize each account. For example, you could use options like lead, prospect, client, or dead lead to track its status. Next, include a field called industry, which will be an options from supertag field. The options will be pulled from the industry supertag. Then add a contact field as an option from supertag that will pull options from the person supertag. If you'd like, you can enable the auto-initialize option to ancestor with this supertag. With this enabled, whenever you add a contact in this field and tag it as person, the account field we will create in the person supertag will automatically populate with a reference to the associated account. You'll see this in action later. For evaluating client quality, consider a rating field, also an option field. I prefer using a 1 to 4 star system, but feel free to customize it. And for each option, I include a description using Ctrl+I. 1 star, poor, the account consistently fails to meet expectations. 2 stars, fair, the account occasionally meets expectations but often falls short. 3 stars, good, a positive relationship where the account meets most expectations. 4 stars, excellent, the account consistently exceeds expectations. Also, it's important to store account contacts. Add fields for email, phone, website, LinkedIn, or any other contact method relevant to your workflow, and set the field types accordingly. For fields like these, once reusable across multiple super tags, consider making them discoverable. This moves the fields to the schema, making them easier to find and reuse later. Lastly, include a location field as an option from supertag that pulls option from the location supertag, where you can store the account's address. Before moving on to the next supertag, scroll down to the base type section and specify the tag type. In this case, set it to organization. Now let's move on to the person supertag. The first field to add is account, an option from supertag field type, with the supertag set to account. As we did with the contact field in the account supertag, enable the auto-initialize option to ancestor with this supertag. This means that if you create an account directly from this field, the contact field in the account supertag will automatically reference this person node. To enhance usability, make this field discoverable, as it will also be used in other supertags. Next, add a role field and other options from supertag field, this time using the role supertag. This helps define the individual's role in relation to the organization. Finally, as we did for the account supertag, include all the relevant contact fields: email, phone, LinkedIn, or any other contact information or social media links you find useful. For the base type, select person to appropriately classify this tag. Now, for the industry, location, and role supertags, I don't add any fields since in this video they are primarily used for categorizing information. So next we have the meeting supertag. If you haven't set it up yet, the first step is to select the base type as meeting. This will unlock a new section in the supertag settings panel, the meeting agent. Click on Setup Agent to begin the guided process. Here you'll specify the supertag to indicate meeting attendees and the supertag used for tasks. Once the setup is complete, click Create. This will automatically generate the base structure for the meeting supertag. If needed, you can add additional fields. For example, I include related deal and related project fields. Related deal is an option from supertag field using the deal supertag, and related project is an option from supertag field using the project supertag. Both fields are configured to auto-initialize to ancestor with this supertag and are marked as discoverable for easy reuse. Next, let's look at the deal supertag. The first field I add is owner, a Tana user field which I configure to auto-initialize to the current user. While not mandatory, it's a helpful addition if you work with a team, as it allows you to instantly see who is responsible for a deal. I also make this field discoverable for reuse. Then I add the account field and a new field called related meeting, which is an options from supertag field that pulls option from the meeting supertag. This field is configured to auto-initialize to ancestor with this supertag. Why? Imagine you've had a discovery call with a potential client. After processing the information gathered during the meeting, you create a deal to prepare and send a proposal. If the deal is created underneath the meeting node, the related meeting field will automatically reference the discovery call. I also make this field discoverable for use in other supertags. Next, I add a service field, an options field to represent the services you offer to clients. This field is also marked as discoverable. The deal status field represents your sales pipeline and includes options like solution development, proposal sent, negotiation, invoice sent, deal won, and deal lost. I set solution development as the default status and add specific icons to each option for better visualization. I also include an attachments field to store documents or additional client-provided information. This field is discoverable for reuse across other supertags. For financial tracking, I add a deal value field set as a number field. And I also include a closing date field to indicate the estimated date for closing the deal. To log updates, I add a deal log field, where you can jot down notes related to the deal. Finally, before moving to the project supertag, I configure the advanced options to build the title of the node using field values. For example, the title might look like this: the name of the deal, followed by the account name and the selected service with the characters limit set to 20. Now let's move on to the project Supertag. First, I add an owner field, similar to what was done for the DL Supertag. And next, I create a stakeholders field, which is an option from Supertag field that pulls the options from the person Supertag. Then I add the account, related deal, and attachment fields. These fields are used to associate the project with its relevant account, deal, and any supporting documentation. For tracking progress, I add a project status field. This is an options field with 3 statuses: backlog, in progress, and completed. I set backlog as the default option and include the unique icons for each status to enhance clarity and visual appeal. I also add a deadline field, a date field that specifies the project's expected completion date. This field is marked as discoverable for use in other Supertags. To keep track of updates, I include a project log field for jotting down notes or progress related to the project. Finally, I set the base type to project and configure the advanced options to build the project title dynamically using field values. For example, the title could follow this structure: the name of the project, followed by the account name, and the selected service with the characters limit set to 20. Finally, let's move on to the last Supertag, the Task Supertag. Start by adding a due date field as a date field. Then include the related project, related deal, and related meeting fields to connect tasks to their corresponding entities. Next, enable the Show checkbox option to make it easier to mark tasks as completed. Set the base type to task to classify the Supertag correctly. Lastly, configure the title to be built dynamically using field values. For example, use the expression "the name of the task" followed by the related project or meeting or deal. Now that we have all our Supertags set up, let's create some entities to test them out. We'll start with an account. In the Contacts field, underneath it, I add the contact name Kevin Smith and tag it as person. If I expand the node, you'll notice that the account field in the person node is automatically populated. Next, let's create a new person, John Dorian. In the account field, I specify the organization name, Organization X. Expanding the node shows that the contacts field in the account node is automatically populated. I then fill in the remaining fields with sample data. Now, let's create a discovery call node and tag it as meeting. In the attendees field, I add John Dorian and set today's date as the value for the date field. After the call, once I've processed my notes, I'll create a deal related to the meeting. To do this, I simply create a new node as content of the discovery call node, name it New Deal for John, and tag it as deal. When I expand this deal node, I can see that the related meeting field has already been filled in with the reference to the discovery call. I then complete the other fields for the deal. Now, once the deal is won, and we'll explore how to monitor its progress using the defined status shortly, I'll create a related project. If I create the project node as content of the deal node, let's say project for John, the related deal field in the project is automatically populated. I then complete the remaining fields. Lastly, we test the Task Supertag. Tasks can be created as standalone entities or as content under meeting, deal, or project. In the latter case, the relevant field in the task node is automatically populated with a reference to its parent entity. Now that everything is set up, it's time to create the views, starting with the CRM. First, I assign an icon to the CRM node. Now, the CRM consists of three main sections: contacts, accounts, and deals. And each section is assigned an icon for better organization. The Contacts section contains a search node that retrieves all nodes tagged as person. The Accounts section includes multiple search nodes. All Accounts retrieves all nodes tagged as account. Leads retrieves account nodes where the stage field is set to lead. Prospects retrieves account nodes where the stage is prospect. Clients retrieves account nodes where the stage is client. And dead leads retrieves account nodes where the stage is dead lead. I also add icons to each search node for clarity. Then we have the Deals section that contains 4 search nodes. Pipeline that retrieves deals where the deal status is not deal won or deal lost. One that retrieves deals where the deal status is deal won. Lost that retrieves deals where the deal status is deal lost. And all deals that retrieves all nodes tagged as deal. As always, I add icons to each search node for clarity. Once the structure is in place, I set up the views. First, convert the CRM node into a side menu by selecting View as side menu from the command line. For the Contacts section, I set the view to Table and choose which field to display. For the Accounts section, use a Tabs view, and for each tab, set the view to Table. For the Deals section, use a Tabs view, as we did for the Accounts section. And for the Pipeline tab, set the view to Cards. Group deals by deal status. and display fields such as deal value, account, and closing date. For the other tabs, won, lost, all deals, you can use a list or table view. I personally prefer the table. With this setup, the CRM section is ready for use. Next, I create a new node called Projects and assign an icon to it. This section monitors projects based on their status. So I create a search node for each project status. Backlog, that retrieves project where the project status is backlog. In progress, that retrieves projects where the project status is in progress. Completed, that retrieves projects where the project status is completed. And all projects, that retrieves all nodes tagged as project. Lastly, I assign icons to these nodes matching the icons used for the statuses. Now, for the projects section, I use a tabs view. For the backlog tab, I use a cards view grouping projects by project status. For the other tabs, in progress, completed, and all projects, use a simple table view. Let's walk through an example of creating an entire process from start to finish. I find a new lead, and the account name is New Lead Corp. The main contact is Mark Di Giorgio. I fill in all the fields for the account and schedule a discovery call. I name it Discovery Call with Mark and add Mark Di Giorgio as an attendee. The date is set to today. During the meeting, I take notes using the meeting agent, and after the meeting, I review my notes and decide the next step. In this case, Mark is interested in the service I offer and has requested a proposal. The next step is to create a deal. I create a new deal called Deal X and fill in all the fields. Next, I open the CRM section and update the account stage from lead to prospect. Then, I navigate to the deal section where I can monitor the sales pipeline and track progress. For every step of the process, I use the deal log to record updates. A tip I like to use: insert today's date via the command line by searching for insert date, and underneath the date, jot down your daily notes related to the deal. The process continues until the deal is either won or lost. In this case, the deal is won. And the won deal is now visible in the won section of the CRM. This also means it's time to create a project for the client. Inside the deal node, I create a new project named Project X. I fill in the fields and update the account stage to Client. I open the project section and, when ready to start, move the project from backlog to in progress. At this stage, I begin working on the project. Tasks, files, notes, and other details can be added as needed to ensure smooth progress. We've already built a well-structured system, but to enhance its functionality, let's create an additional section, Finances. Add a node titled Finances and assign a proper icon. Under this node, create another node for the current year, in this case, 2025. Under the 2025 node, create 6 views: Ongoing Deals Value, Q1 Forecast, Q2 Forecast, Q3 Forecast, Q4 Forecast, and Yearly Forecast. For the Ongoing Deals Value, create a search node to find deals where the deal status is Proposal Sent, Negotiation, or Invoice Sent. Change the view to Table and display fields like Account, Closing Date, and Deal Value. Finally, use the Deal Value field to calculate the sum, providing the total value of ongoing deals. Now, for each quarterly forecast, search for deals where the deal status is Deal 1 and the closing date falls within the corresponding quarter. For Q1, closing date is greater than December 31, 2024 and less than April 1, 2025. For Q2, the closing date is greater than March 31, 2025 and less than July 1, 2025. For Q3, closing date is greater than June 30, 2025 and less than October 1, 2025. For Q4, the closing date is greater than September 30, 2025 and less than January 1, 2026. And for yearly forecast, search for deals where the deal status is Deal 1 and the closing date is greater than December 31, 2024 and less than January 1, 2026. Let's test the setup by updating the closing date of our won deal. Adjust the closing date to fall within Q1. Verify that the deal appears in the Q1 section. Change the view to table Ensure the deal value field is displayed and calculate the total sum using the values from this field. And just do the same for all the other sections. And there you have it, you can fully customize your CRM to suit your needs and create as many views as you like to organize and retrieve your data efficiently. I didn't include the related content sections or custom commands in this video. However, to give you an idea, you could add a related content section in the project Supertag to group all meetings related to the project. Or once a deal is won, a custom command will appear and clicking on it will automatically prepare the structure for your project. Use this video as a foundation to build your system and adapt it to your workflow. And if you found this helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. Remember, you can follow and connect with me on X, Mastodon and Blue Sky, and you can also join my Discord server and subscribe to my bi-weekly newsletter for more content about productivity, knowledge management and automation. You will find all the links in the description down below. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next video. In the meantime, stay productive.